Trees on both sides. And all that is past history. And all these damn cars, forget my language, when they want parking, they will go and try and find the closest tree possible and go and hide under the shade. But they want the highways to keep these cars parking up. They have no objection to park cars and so on. But if you go, I have a policy which goes on promoting cars and no public transport system. This is where we are going to end up. So we are very happy so many of you have come, and it's a we had the same amount of crowd at the Comunidade Law College last year. A lot of people interested in every aspect of the law, and we try to make things simple, and it's very informal. It's not like somebody comes and gives a speech and then runs away or something. We have, that's why we create an atmosphere of having some little snacks and tea, people to get comfortable, and all plastic is banned as far as everything for is concerned. We do a video recording which we then put on YouTube so other people can benefit from it. And whatever resources you pay for the course serves several purposes. One is it enables us to give all the speakers very handsome organic food hampers so that their wives can benefit from it when they go home. Whether it's a good authentic cashew nuts produced by an authentic Goan producer and not imported from Zambia. So I take care to see that everything is authentic. All the food that we serve is done by two ladies here in Mapusa and Dili, and you will also be there. Every alternate day they will produce the food which is there for the evening, so that the program is built, is inbuilt, like so that everybody here, in a certain sense, benefits from it. Whatever the requirements and all that are all made from this. And of course, very great to benefit here. Goan has been the master community. No, we are not going to chat. You take the hall, you take the AC, you take the mics, you take the chairs, you take everything. We have no problem at all. And we are going to be part of this. No difficulty whatsoever. So there is a certain rhythm. You will realize that we start at 6. You are come late, well, it's already started. There is no compromise on that. Every day, every Tuesday and Friday, 6 o'clock you'll be here. As I said, in order to encourage you, we say, come, there's a hot cup of tea. But otherwise, please come and sit here. And whatever resource material you require, sometimes it will be difficult to understand, a little bit complicated, sometimes it will be a bit long, whatever. But the speakers are there to simplify it. And on the very last day, we have 4 or 5 of the most experienced lawyers who come and explain, ask you can ask them any question you want. Any residual question that are left, you can ask them and they will answer them. Yeah. So, those of you who want things like certificate that you attended the course, you want to tell the staff. Because once we printed 100 certificates and only 20 people came and collected it. So, obviously, people don't want certificate. But we can send you a soft copy in any case, that will save us paper. But you just tell the staff outside, and they will always be there to help out any of your requirements. If there are any complaints, any things that are not up to the mark, and so on, please tell us. We are always there. All of us are around. I attend all the sessions right up to December 13, and Sipeli is when is Sipeli birthday? I see the outside. Just follow it. Just follow. You should meet Sipeli.
What about Nivedita?
Yeah. Yeah.
Call them both.
Both, even Nivedita. Even Nivedita, where is Nivedita? Call her out. Where is Nivedita? So Nivedita is second in command. She has been helping Siddhari with all the organization, the registration, seeing that your you have paid your money and you have paid it transfer to the last possible cent, and you don't, she will harass you to take it.
Sorry.
But anyway, this is just the way we public school conducts. And you will be astonished at the girl who is organizing, who is the actual program coordinator for the Goan Foundation for this course. She is not willing to disclose herself, and she is still remaining outside. I don't know for what reason. For this official, okay, you can go. And for the official function, we will have with us just 10-minute inaugural. It's not an inauguration, but just an inaugural function with the president of the Mapusa Comunidade, president of the Goan Foundation, and our guest is arrived. Yes, welcome, Justice Ferdinho Rebello.
Good evening, everyone. Justice Rebello. As we just heard from Claude, there's a very brief introduction which will be done by Dean Cruz, the president of the Goan Foundation, and by Salvador Pinto, the president of the Mapusa Comunidade. After that, our chief guest, Dr. Ferdinho Rebello, will address you on the topic for today. Dean.
Yeah, good evening everyone, and I'm really happy to see so many people having come for this course. We initially wondered how many people were going to come. There were just 60 to 3 days ago, and suddenly it filled up. Because such a course is definitely needed in Goa. We're seeing tremendous threats in all directions in Goa's development. The sort of land prices that are shooting up, the sort of devastation to our hills, fields, forests. All these are great concern for us. And we as the people of Goa we've been sort of actually trying to address them. Yes, there is a legal system out there, but it's inadequate actually. So we have to be the eyes of the state, be able to address these great threats that we have. And I think all of you here will benefit greatly from this course. We've already had courses of the Goan Foundation in Margao, in Panjim, in Panda, with tremendous participation and outcomes. We've had great stalwarts like Meda, Abhijit Sardasai, with recently of course our team, Swapnesh, and all these have benefited from plugging into getting legal knowledge on these issues. And so I certainly hope for a great outcome from this course and the learning which we can take forward. A lot of people ask, who's Goan Foundation? And yes, Goan are the faces and the inspiration of Goan Foundation. But Goan Foundation is all of you who have your heart in Goa, all of you who are willing to go forward in a democratic manner and make the difference. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Justice Rebello, for being here, and Salvador for lending us this great space to actually conduct this function. Thank you.
Salvador.
A pleasant evening to each and every one of you. Justice Ferdinho Rebello, Mr. Dean Cruz, President of the Goan Foundation, ladies and gentlemen, and my dear friends. On behalf of the Comunidade de Mapusa, its zoneros and the managing committee, I am delighted to welcome you all, particularly the participants from Bardez to this PIL course, which we are organizing together with the Goan Foundation. When this Goan Foundation first approached us for the use of this hall and explained the idea behind the course, the entire managing committee responded enthusiastically to the idea. And that we support this course to the maximum extent because we all support the programs that improve and help the society at large. On our part, we are happy to offer this air-conditioned hall and other amenities for the smooth conduct of this course. The Goa Foundation is an organization known to everyone in Goa as one of the institutions that works very hard to protect Goa's natural environment and its ecosystem, not only for the present generation, but for the future Goenkas and Goans. I would like to use this occasion to request the Goa Foundation to take up the issue of protection and conservation of the comunidades, since all is not well in this great ancestral institutions of ours. It faces several legal challenges, including many encroachments on our own land and properties, and undue interference from the government. It is in sore need of advice on how to ensure its survival in the years to come and to keep this land for our future generation. At this institution, this ancestral institution, the Comunidad, was the original local authority for every Goan village and the owner of all village lands, Alvares. It is because of these institutions that the village lands were used in a sustainable manner and handed over from generation to generation. What we see today is not the need, it's the greed. The Comunidad of Mapusa would like to encourage and have such courses that will equip us with legal skills required to ensure that we protect our land for our future generation. I know we are all eager and anxious to listen and start this course. Without any delay, I once again welcome you all, and on behalf of the Managing Committee and myself, to this important event, which we are absolutely delighted to be associated. Thank you very much, and I look forward for the Goa Foundation to have many courses for the benefit of the public, and we at Mapusa Comunidad will support you. Thank you. Deo Boneko.
Justice Rebello, Dean, Salvador, all the participants of today's function, ladies and gentlemen. It is my proud privilege to introduce to you Justice Dr. Ferdinho Rebello, former Chief Justice of the Allahabad High Court, former Judge of the Bombay High Court, and a former member of the Legislative Assembly of Goa, Daman and Diu. Everything formal you will see. What of today? Well, Justice Rebello, to the best of my knowledge, holds no official position today. Today, he is like you and me, a Goan with a big, big heart for Goa. It had always been beating for Goa, whether he was here or in Bombay or in Allahabad. And today that heart is distraught with the state of affairs in our beautiful state, where much of the land is changing from green to brown. So he has even offered to share his extensive legal acumen with citizens of Goa and assist Goa's NGOs in their struggles in the court to protect Goa's environment. After all, he was Goa's first environment lawyer way back in the 80s and 90s when he practiced in the Goa High Court. Justice Rebello has a special place in Goa Foundation's history of environment litigation, as he was, believe it or not, Goa Foundation's first lawyer, and he successfully fought the Goa Foundation's challenge to the large-scale extraction of sand from South Goa's beaches. He was successful because midway through the case, the Goa government decided not to renew the sand leases which were going to expire shortly. And it is because of that decision that all over Goa eventually there was a prohibition on the removal of sand from the beaches. Personally, Justice Rebello has been of great assistance to me, especially in my initial years of practice, when I would run up a couple of flights of stairs to reach his tiny office on the second floor in Panjim. In those days, lawyers did not have big offices. They were very small and very crowded with people hanging around, and there were no lifts also. So I would go there to ask him sometimes what strategy to adopt, or even what relief to bring for. And of course, he always gave me sound advice. Justice Rebello was a much sought after lawyer by the public, and he argued several important cases on a variety of subjects in the High Court. Later, as a judge, he delivered several landmark judgments on a number of environmental issues pertaining to Goa. One of them was a major judgment on large-scale violation of the CRB notification in Kalangut and Kandolim, the hotbeds of CRB violations. Another one was on garbage management. There were others on noise pollution, tenancy law, and a very significant one on the necessity and insistence on open spaces in colonies, in residential areas, in public places. We still refer to some of those judgments in matters which we argue today. So we were delighted when Justice Rebello agreed to accept our invitation to address you today, because we could not have got a more high-powered speaker than Justice Rebello, an expert in constitutional law, to inaugurate this PIL and to deliver the inaugural first lecture on the Indian Constitution, which is the basis of governance by law in this country. Thank you, Justice Rebello. The floor is yours.
Good evening, everybody. The first thing I thought was leave the court down there. Yes. I'm back with you.
I think he deserves an applause for that.
In '73, after I completed my graduation in Government Law College, Bombay, I thought to myself, what would I do? Practice in Bombay or come down to Goa? I decided, I don't know why, I said, let me go to Goa, because there was, this something in me, the rebellious spirit in me always. And I said, let me come to Goa. And I was associated right from the beginning with the trade union movement, with the Rampunkar movement. Perhaps I was the only one who went to jail. No other did not went to jail. I helped the Tory tappers and a variety of social causes, because the feeling was that the marginalized groups, the marginalized society, there must be somebody to speak, somebody to make their voice known. I was elected from Kumpali in 1977 on the Janata Party ticket, the Goa Assembly. Of course, we lasted only for about 2 years because he brought down the government. And I did raise various issues even in the assembly. And I'll tell you, those days, it was not like today's assemblies. The Chief Minister was Mrs. Shashikala Kapurkar. Though we opposed her, there were issues for the Munkar Act, for example. There were some court judgments, and I suggested an amendment, Section 8 to the Munkar Act. Khalab was my colleague down there. He also proposed, after seeing my amendment, he told Mrs. Kapurkar and let Ferdinho move the amendment. So the Chief Minister asked me to move the amendment. So it was a bipartisan approach that was in the assembly. It was not like fighting each other, scoring a point each other. We were opposing each other, but at the same time, we were together on common issues. And that is what should happen, and that's why I am here today. See, we can have political parties, we can have differences of opinion, but on certain issues, we must be together. Now, unfortunately, that is not happening, be it or otherwise. So now, large audience over here. I am surprised that so many people have come and so many are interested. I thought that the activist spirit of the 70s and 80s had disappeared. But the fact that we all are over here, I felt that there should have been more youngsters. But there are youngsters over here. There are middle-aged people, and they would have the capacity. But how do you go around fighting for a cause for what we believe in? Yes, morchas, meetings, gatherings are a part of the democratic process where the voice can be heard. We remember Ali Hazare. He went on a fast, now he's somewhere, one does not know. But that brought a tremendous transformation in our politics. So what should you know if you as a citizen want to do something on the legal side, coupled with what you want to do as an activist? So I have been asked today to speak to you because the session, I think the course consists of various lectures. It has been divided. So I was asked to speak on the Constitution and the laws. So when you say the Constitution, what is the Constitution? Now somebody would say Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar was he was the mentor. But the man who drafted the Constitution was Sir PIL Rao. He was the man who actually did. Babasaheb Ambedkar was the thinker who provided the inputs as to how the Constitution must be judged. But it was put together by Dr. Rao. Before our Constitution, we had the Government of India Act. Before 1949, we adopted on the 26th day, we adopted the Constitution. Before that, we were governed by the Government of India Act 1935. Now, what does the Constitution mean to us? And what is it? What is the philosophy of this Constitution? Those of you who might have gone through the Constitution of India, the very first part is the preamble to the Constitution. Now the preamble reflects what is there in the Constitution. We call them the preambular concepts. It said, we the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute ourselves with a sovereign democratic republic by the 42nd Amendment. Socialists and secular were brought in, added words. The 44th Amendment did not, when the Janata government came, they did not amend those part of it, and those remain a part of the preamble concept. But they spoke about fraternity. It speaks about equality. It speaks about justice, social, economic, and political. This is what is in the Constitution. What you will be concerned with, not the entire Constitution. I will deal with only some aspects of the Constitution. What is it that most touches us? The fundamental rights is the most important aspect of the Constitution. It consists of various parts. But then important also in the Constitution, ours is what is a federal Constitution, where powers are divided between the union government and the state government. So we have the 7th schedule. It consists of 3 lists. The list 1 is the union list, where only the central government, parliament can make laws. We have then the state list, where only the assemblies of the state can make laws. And we have the concurrent list, where both can make the laws, union government and state government. But the union government makes a law, then the state government must send this to the president for ratification. So this is how laws are made in this country. The 7th schedule, union list, state list, and the concurrent list. Having said that, the Constitution is the primary document. Apart from the Constitution, as I now pointed out, there are 2 other forms of legislation. Now, which are the 2 other forms? We have the primary legislation in the form of state acts and parliamentary acts, and we have secondary legislation. Now, you must be knowing now panchayat or a municipality. There are bylaws, there are rules. Now, these are called delegated legislation. They are called primary legislation. They are called the delegated legislation. Now, these legislation must be in tune with the main law, that is the primary legislation of the act. You can't have a delegated legislation which runs, or secondary legislation which runs foul of the primary act. So we have the Constitution, we have the laws, and we have the rules and bylaws. So this is the phase of the various acts and the framework of how India functions, how its laws are made. Having said that now, what are fundamental rights? Now there was a time, it is there on the paper, but those of you who remember the emergency, fundamental rights were suspended. High courts all over the country, many high courts, including Bombay High Court, said no, the rights of institutions are still there. Individuals still have the freedom. These rights can't be suspended. Ram Jethmalani was thought to be arrested on some charge. The Bombay High Court stopped his arrest, saying that in spite of the argument, the fundamental rights are suspended. So therefore, but the matter went to the Supreme Court. And we have this famous judgment called ATM Jabalpur, which says there is power in Parliament and to suspend fundamental rights. This was the darkest day of Indian democracy. There was one dissenting judge, Justice Khanna, who said no, fundamental rights are not because they have been put in the chapter on fundamental rights. These are inalienable human rights. They inherit to you as an individual, as a human being. So this is not given to you by the Constitution. This is only recognized by the Constitution. That was the dissenting judgment. And one of the judges who was the Chief Justice then was Justice Chandrachud, late Justice Chandrachud. Now today, last year or 2 years ago in Justice Kudaswamy, that was finally laid to rest. Of course, earlier Manika Gandhi and all it went on. But ATM Jabalpur was finally specifically overruled. In other words, today, and of course in between the 44th Amendment had come in, saying that these rights cannot be taken away. But today, in this land, your fundamental rights cannot be taken away, emergency or no emergency. This is the first thing that you must know as people of this country. Of course, fundamental rights are subject to restrictions that are set out in the Constitution. Now there is Article 19, which is the first article that we must know. Now I am standing over here speaking to you. I speak that as a human person, as the right to speak, but because also is recognized by the Constitution. Article 19, what? Freedom of speech and expression. Now what is freedom of speech and expression? Is it merely talking, standing on the platform, shouting? It has been extended to the written word. Freedom of speech including the right to write your opinion, includes the right to advertise, because that is how the matter arose from a case of Indian Express newspaper during the emergency. Argument was that right, freedom of speech does not include the right to advertise. Supreme Court said no. This freedom is all embracing. A man has not only the right to speak his mind, but also has the right to write what he thinks. He has the right to communicate what he thinks. And therefore it's an all-embracing right. Then there are other rights, which if you turn to article, there are 6 rights. There were originally 6, I think now the right to property is taken away and made into article 308. The right to travel, the right to move freely. Or people say, how can you come over here? Now that can't be because we are citizens of this country. Okay? I'm in Bombay. I'm Bombay Assam. I became a judge of the Bombay High Court, president of the Bombay High Court. I was the Chief Justice of the Allahabad High Court. So we can't tell somebody you can't come over here, as long as they respect our laws. You can't encroach on lands and say, I have a right to encroach on Comunidade land. That is not your right. Yes, you have the right to come, carry on your trade, business, expression, but within the laws of the country. Because I remember I was called, a small digression, that those days they were going to give special status to Goa. Now I could not understand what is the special status to Goa because except for the northeastern states of Nagaland, Mizoram, which were undergoing insurgency, to bring them within the Union and to end the war. We gave them certain additional rights. So I was called by the speaker to address the list as members of the assembly and the others. And I said, why are you fighting over here? All that you have to do is what is done in the other state is amend your land revenue code. The other states, the land revenue code say, what do they say? That agricultural land can't be sold to non-agriculturalists. It can't be sold to other than farmers from the particular state. So to protect ourselves, all that we have to do is to amend the Goa land revenue code. And I think, Norman, this is something where we must now start a process where we debate and discuss and propose amendments so that the people of Goa can know and people of Goa can move forward. It's not really that some organization is going to draft, but the people are with it and which is in the larger interest of the Goan community at large, that this must be done. So these are thought processes I am telling you on the way, perhaps we shall discuss and debate and do it on. Now, you were speaking about the Comunidade. I think I argued a matter of Comunidade of Cebula, where lands were given to anybody from everywhere. But I said no, I argued and court accepted that point, that you can't give other than those who are homeless, with no land. I think that amendment has now been carried out in the. But unfortunately for your Comunidade people, there are so many things that you can do. Nobody sits together to discuss it. Nobody is willing to spend their funds to fight the cause out. Now earlier on the Comunidade matter, there was that you have to obtain permission of the administrative tribunal to spend expenses. Sitting Goa, I said no, that can be done also post. It's only an administrative requirement. You can't allow your property to be encroached upon and wait for somebody, tribunal, to give you sanction. I said, no, that is not a judgment. That is not the law. So that is a judgment which I said, so you can now file suits and take post facto approval. Now, this diversion, I come back. Which are the other articles which are of importance to us? Article 14 and Article 21. These are the two articles that have been read together. 19, 14, 21 is a trilogy of human rights. Now, there was one point of time in the beginning of the Constitution of the Supreme Court where they said that 19, 14, 21 are two different aspects. They can't be read together. That was the A.K. Gopal. Subsequently, the Supreme Court said, no, these have to be read together. You can't say that they are independent. Now, strangely, in A.K. Gopalan, see what the Supreme Court said. Gopalan was a Marxist, wanted to bring down the government of India by armed insurrection. But Justice Vivian Bose, what did he say? He said, I may not agree with his views, but the Constitution is also for him. So unless we satisfy the requirements of this constitutional test, this man can't be put inside. And he also said, I know that he goes outside, he may repeat it, but that we are there to protect his rights as long as you follow the law. Yes, if you don't follow the law, you strike it down. So Article 21 is today it has expanded tremendously and will come to PIL. It has come. But what is Article 14? The state shall not discriminate between citizens based on caste, based on religion, based upon geography from where they come. And why is this required? This is required because we are one nation, one country. To give effect to 9, if somebody has to come, the come shall start his business in Goa. Can you tell him, no, you can't come over here, it's only for Goans? No. You have the right to carry on the business. And 14 puts on the state, you cannot make a law which shall discriminate between citizens based upon caste, religion. So you can't do this. All citizens must be treated equally. We are in one basket. Once you are a citizen of India, the basket is the same. Now, Article 21 to that extent is not only for citizens. Article 21 is also applies to any person, including non-citizens. So, if a foreigner comes to India and is wrongly arrested, he has the right to move the courts to contend that his right under a fundamental right, a person has that right, has been violated. So Article 14 and 21 is a big repository. Now we come to the most fundamental of them, Article 21. It has taken various hues in human rights. It has developed tremendously in environmental law. Now, what are human rights? Are human rights merely something that you sit down at home, eat what you want, drink what you want, sleep where you want? Or is it something much more than that? Now, we in the Constitution, we have the fundamental rights, and we also have something called directive principles in the chapter on directive principles. Now, these principles are not enforceable. A citizen cannot go and say, enforce this principle. But again, the law evolved and developed because, see, the Constitution is not like any other law. We call it a living organism. It expands with time. We can expand it with time. It grows with time. as society changes, as values change, new thought processes come in, technical innovations come in, society changes. So every time you can't say I'm going to amend the constitution. You read into the constitution along with the social developments. See, in America, they have this jury system. We have a court society. They have the jury system where a group of citizens decide whether the man is guilty or not guilty. Now, to us, it is in this country, if you choose some 5 persons, 4 of them will be purchased. Everybody will be acquitted. Now, it happened in Nanavati's case. Nanavati was a naval commander who shot his wife or some mother. And he was charged. And Nanavati was acquitted. So that was the end of the. But then what the American Supreme Court judge said was, these jury, we don't have to amend our laws, to amend our constitution. This jury knows how society moves and they think along that lines. Now here in India, our courts move, because it is the courts who have been given the power to adjudicate, to decide what the law is. So what have our courts done in the matter of Article 21? Directive principles, as I said, directive principles, non-enforceable. Then India is a party to various international covenants. Covenant of the Sea, Covenant of Child Rights, Covenant of, so at A, B, C, D, and F. I'm telling you how the law evolves. I don't know how many of you must have heard of Justice Krishna. Very difficult to read his language. But I call him the father of Asian jurisprudence. It was a small case, State Bank of Cochin versus State Bank of Cochin. Now there a person could not pay the fine of the fee or whatever the amount covered, and he was civil contempt, he was put in civil contempt and to be sent to jail because the man had no means to pay. But our law said, put him, the bank will pay for his residence in the prison, and he must stay down there. Now, you and I want to say, this is the law. What can I do? But then I said, there are people who evolve the law. Here was Justice Krishna sitting down, and he says, this man has no means to pay. How do you send him to jail? If the man has means to pay and not paying, I can understand. But if the man has no means to pay, how do you send him to jail? And it is not there in our constitution, in our laws. But there was an international convention to which India was a party. My question was, how do you bring in the international convention into the body of the constitution? This is Krishna said, India is a party. The right to life must include those rights which India has accepted, though Parliament may not have made a law on that because international convention to be law. Parliament must make a law. But even without Parliament making a law, he said we can read this into Article 21. And then he said, since you can't imprison a man who has no means to pay, this law is illegal. This was the first step in the evolution of bringing in the principles of international governance. Then somebody else says, now like Goa Foundation, what right do they have to enter the court? Who are they? The list is between a person affected and the governmental authority of the state. Third parties have no business to come in. What is your list? How do you enter this court? Again, there were two judges, I'll come to this afterwards. The case of Kamgar Fertilizer Corporation. It was a simple case, and union filed a petition saying this company cannot sell its goods because we have a right, our wages have to pay, etc., etc. The dispute was between the company and some third person. And the first question was, who are you? What right do you have to come in? Justice Krishna said no. Indirectly, their rights as workers will be affected. So I hold them, they have a right to come in. Thus began the jurisprudence of allowing persons who otherwise would have no leg to enter the courts to file petitions in the court. And this was thereafter developed by Justice Bhagwati during the Commonwealth Games time in Delhi. There were brick kilns, workers were working, and they were not being paid. And somebody wrote a letter, piece of letter to Justice Bhagwati. Now unheard of. Now all of you will know that if you go to a lawyer, say we have to file a suit. File a suit means you have to type reams of papers, pay court fees, read petition, again type the papers, a lawyer has to be engaged and to go and otherwise the registry will tell you, forget the courts. You can't file over here, you are out. Now Justice Bhagwati took that piece of paper, a letter by somebody, a third person, espousing the cause of these bonded laborers. And he said, and that was the beginning of the PIL litigation. There are a class of persons or citizens who represent, who are coming forward to defend the rights of a class of persons who cannot defend themselves. They have entrance to this court. So was born one hand earlier the locus and the other giving right to a section of citizens to espouse cause of the underprivileged, of the marginalized. And that is how today you find organizations like Goa Foundation, though they may not directly affect it, can go to the courts on behalf of others and espouse their cause. So Article 21 has now new dimensions. Then somebody wrote to the court saying, I'm not getting water. Now, everybody say water is something that you drink, but we have a fundamental right to water. Court said, yes, you have fundamental right to water, to clean drinking water. Now, many a time, in Goa, you will know, we don't even get for, I think, 1 hour of water in our cities. And if you tell them, they say we have no capacity, we don't have that capacity to supply more than that. And then at the same time, multi complexes are allowed to be common because the same water has to be shared with everybody. So earlier 100% were sharing 1 liter, now 1000% have to share the same liter. This is a fate. Anyhow, that's a digression which I felt sometimes we must in the course. So the counters of Article 21 have tremendously increased. And today, therefore, a group of any citizen, when I say any citizen means, that must be a citizen who believes in something, not every Tom, Dick and Harry. But that is unfortunately happening in everywhere. Somebody says, this fashion show should not be held. Now, what the fundamental right of this person and basically, you see, what must be espoused is in PIL Fundamental rights. Fundamental rights of people must be affected. And when you say fundamental right means, basically it is Article 21. So you must make out a case in Article 21, the right to life in all its manifestations is affected. But then we have reached such a stage that judges are also happy because you see, let me confess, as a judge, I was sitting in Nagpur. As a Bombay, we don't have much time to do that because of 120 matters every day. So I had gone to Nagpur and workload, but not as heavy as Nagpur. And morning cup of tea, I had to read those papers. And the papers, this judge has decided this judge has decided this. So every day, your name would figure in the papers. So once I came somewhere else and a very person said, Judy, your name has not come in the papers. So judges also now have become that their names to be shown in the papers, do something. And now it is a TV program, say something. Now, to those who are, I don't mean to say something of, but I think there must be some judicial discipline amongst us that we as judges, the right to judicial review as I call it, must be careful of what we speak, of what we utter. A single order in Manipur by a division bench of the High Court down there on the issue of tribes who can be included. Today Manipur is burning. It is burning because there is one single order by a judge, by a bench, who included the Métis as scheduled tribe. The Métis in all their history had never claimed that right. Every committee that was formed, they had given up their rights. But some petitioner came, and today we see a Manipur. Métis on the one hand, Métis on the other, permanent and not healing. But then again, coming back to 21. So therefore, 21 today is what we must know. 21 today in the hands of activists is a means not only to espouse your rights, but to espouse those rights of the marginalized, the downtrodden, of the environment, of the ecology. And Norma, I tell you now, I was just told by the Chief Justice that on judgment of 2000, they have so moved taken a further PIL in respect of all illegal constructions. Yes, which I had passed in 2000 asking the Mamata. Yes, I had set out the framework to stop illegal construction, but then as you go out, somehow the only judgment I believe in Goa, which another judge followed, you go along your footpaths. Do you find construction on the footpaths? Goa perhaps is the only state where on the footpaths you will not have constructions. And why was that? I was sitting with the Chief Justice of Bombay High Court, M.B. Shah, and these matters came before me, came before our bench. And month of May, I was sitting as a vacation judge in Goa, not a regular assignment. And something came from Maramangoa, Vasco Municipal Council. And the chief officer told me, sir, why don't you issue notices to all the municipal councils? We'll be happy to follow what you say. And I located the power to grant permission, not permissions, in the chief officer. And I further said that if you violate this, you are liable in contempt. So the result was, when somebody came asking, granting permission, the chief officer would say, you will not go to jail, I will go to jail. So I can't. So this was an effect, something that happened. And that is how, and luckily for me, Justice Bhatta took it over. And Justice Bhatta also cleaned the Mapusa market. The excess, he followed that up. He cleaned up Mapusa market also. That was not a part of it, but he did that. So today, Article 21 is like a means where everybody. Now, why am I speaking about it? You are activists. Those who are come over here have a desire to do something boiling within you. As I said, two things. One is using the judicial forum, but then using the judicial forum, as the Chief Justice says, Tariq par Tariq. Now, do you sometimes Tariq par Tariq is why? It is because of judges. Judges have to decide. Okay, but then somebody does not file a reply. Some advocates sees for, and especially the government, most of the time, they've been telling you, give us more time. And that is how but still have faith in the system, because that is the end of the day. With all our faults, I will again say, with all our faults, you still have a judicial system in India that cares for the marginalized, that cares for the rights of people. And on occasions, there are judges who rise to the occasion and do that. All don't do that. You must have that potential and the necessary grip to do that. So this is Article 21. What are the other rights in the Constitution? We have Articles 15, 16. Now what are these rights? Now you have women, you have marginalized communities who for centuries were deprived of their rights, who really cannot compete with A, B and C, who had the benefit over the centuries. I'm not talking about SCs and STs. SCs and STs are a class apart. So there is specific provision for them in the Constitution for reservation, in admission to colleges, and also in parliamentary and administrative assemblies. But that is supposed to be for 20 years. That was what Baba Saheb Ambedkar thought, that within 20 years perhaps something would be done. But we are now reaching, I think, 75 years, and still we don't see the shore anywhere. The ship is still out, and then this will continue from time to time. But there are other communities. Now the wording here sometimes used is caste. Actually, caste is not a concept in the Constitution. So caste is something you can't do. The state shall not discriminate based upon religion, caste, etc., etc. It is a community. But castes are identified with communities. Okay, so therefore it has some intermingled, and caste has become a part of that system. So there is a provision for reservation in education, the provision for education in jobs, basically in educations and in jobs also. Now in the low municipal elections also, I don't know why that is done, but there is also reservation down there. So this is one part. Then we have the rights. Now sometimes I wonder why people go on saying Articles 25 and 26. Now Article 25 is not the right of minorities. Article 25 is the right of every citizen to profess a faith, so it cuts across boundaries. You may be a Hindu, you may be a Christian, you may be a Muslim, you may be a Parsi. All entertain, of course sometimes they entertain other matters also, individual matters also. We have the typical case of Baba Ramdev, not Ramdev. Yes, Baba Ramdev. Now the man was participating, I think, in Allahabad movement or some other movement, and he was told not to be there, and he ran off down there. But somebody filed a petition, and something happened, and the Supreme Court said they were disturbed in the night. In the night time, the police came and wanted to throw them out. our Supreme Court said well, the right to sleep is also a fundamental right. Now, who would deny that? Except the sound polluters. The sound polluters in Goa are the only persons who think that other citizens have no rights. And when we all say that, believe me, I liked the seashore. For me, when I come down, for me the seashore is a place where my mind relaxes. So I went to Morjin, one of those places, to say, let me spend 2 nights. The whole night, blaring music. Now, how can this go on? What about the rights of those citizens down there? What about the children? What about the old women? And I did mention to somebody in our judicial system as to what is happening. Why should some action not be taken in contempt against these people? Send them to jail. You send one person to jail and then just say after what happens thereafter. Unfortunately, we are not doing that, and it's not that there is no power in the court. This power, the power, if you breach a criminal, if you breach an order of the court, that can sound in contempt, and the courts can take decisive action. You remember the Sahara. All those who remember Sahara, the man was involved in the trip of collecting money. He tried to do something, whatever it is, not pay, not follow orders. For 2 years, contempt says only 3 months or 6 months. But they evolved a new concept, continuing contempt. And he was inside for nearly over 2 years. So therefore, it is not that there is no power to enforce these orders. Courts can enforce these orders. Only thing is, there must be judges who are willing to accept this and take a strong decisive action. So this basically concerns the, when I was speaking about the right to sleep, Ramdev and noise pollution. So what else is there for citizens to do? A legal framework. I have explained to you as far as the constitution, but matters of interstate trade, that is not, as far as you are concerned, that is best left to lawyers to earn their money. When there is a high profile cases, GST or all those things. But 19, 14, 21, minority rights, right to profess and practice your faith, right to eat what you want. Now, this is now recognized subject. Of course, all these are subject to reasonable restrictions. It's not that you have an unfettered right. There must be a law, and that restriction imposed must be tested on the angle of reasonableness. It's not that because there is a power, the state can do anything. It must be tested as is that exercise of power reasonable, and that is where the courts are. So why do you have faith in the courts? Because they are ultimately repository of your rights. If legislature makes a law contrary to the constitution, if somebody acts contrary to the constitution, then at the top of the pyramid or the pinnacle or the pyramid are the courts, the watchdogs, which will see to you. And who has conferred this right? The Constitution. So why is the Constitution important? Because that is the repository of all our rights as citizens. When somebody goes around and saying Constitution, yes, it is the Constitution. This is a book that must, in fact, be preamble to the Constitution. If I was somebody, I would have made my school children recite it every day before we go to our classes. Can I just read it to you all? If I have some time, so that you can understand what what this preamble to the Constitution is. Let me just read it. Earlier I had learned by heart, but after age passes on and you start forgetting words. But let me read it how it is. Now it starts with, we the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular democratic republic, and to secure all its citizens cause, justice, social, economic, and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and opportunity, fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution. So this is the preamble which reflects what is there inside this book. Justice, equality, fraternity. These are all concepts which have been given to us by this Constitution. Some have been given, some I have said are inherent to us as human beings. Then what happens to this some parliament tomorrow says, we are in the majority and we will amend this Constitution. Do away with human rights, Article 20 नहीं मानता है. We want to put this man in jail, वो हमारा right है. What is going to happen? Does Parliament have the right to amend the Constitution? Parliament has the right to amend the Constitution. That power is expressed in Article 368. So where does it go? Where does it move? The test came in one judgment in a matter of property case. And the Supreme Court developed the concept of basic structure. And that judgment thereafter in Myanmar finally is now a recognized principle in our jurisprudence that the basic structure of the Constitution, irrespective of somebody may be in Parliament, has got a majority, 2/3, 3/4 or entire Parliament, that cannot be amended. And what are the basic structures? These basic structures are our freedoms, the rule of law. The rule of means the right of the judges to decide, the secular concepts of the Constitution, and it's an evolving process, these phrases. So these are now recognized rights under which nobody has the right to alter the basic framework of the Constitution. So there we have it now. The founding fathers gave to us a Constitution. That Constitution was under threat at various points of time. And the Keswanan Bharati was the starting point of this basic structure doctrine, recognized in their law, recognized in Goan judgment. So today, whoever comes, see, governments come, governments go, somebody has majority, it's not that it's a time somebody is there. But the basic structure is there, can't be altered. Now, one can't speak for a future generation of judges who may think differently. But today, as of today, this process and this thought process built up by our judges on the basic structure is being followed by other constitutions, by other republics who have a constitution. But everywhere somebody comes and feels that the constitution is what he wants to do. But the courts have now moved. So therefore we now have a constitution. We can alter parts of it, but there are some parts of it which cannot be altered. So this is the full concept as far as the, of course there is so much there, and And then we have the ordinary laws, which Parliament can make, which the state can make. Now, this is a thought, and I think Mama has filed a petition. Now, you are citizens, and now tell me, as we now talk as citizens, a plan is prepared after going through various processes, calling for objections, hearing public opinions, and that plan is prepared not for eternity. That plan is prepared for a particular period, after which it will be revised again. Now, in our wisdom, Goa legislature has brought an amendment giving a power to one person to carry out amendments. Now, the Supreme Court long time ago said that because you repose a power in a high person, it cannot be said that it be used wisely. This is a judgment of the Supreme Court. And now here it is now some town plan or something, I don't know exactly. But how can you repose such a power in one man? It is unreasonable, it is arbitrary. You cannot repose how does a man decide? What yardstick will he apply? Are there any yardsticks? But this matter is in the court, I can't speak much. If I could put on my gown, I would have gone and argued. Unfortunately, I am not allowed to appear in this court. Bombay High Court, I can't appear. Allahabad High Court, I can't appear. But totally unreasonable. That I don't recollect the judgment, but that judgment was in Justice Justice Salvador. So because you repose a power in a person whom you think is a high-ranking person, does not mean that power is to be used wisely. All power must be tested on the Thomas 2 of Article 14. Reasonableness must follow from that. So therefore, these are things which you as but then believe me, how much can the courts do? If you as citizens know that something is wrong, you also must raise your voice. Unfortunately, I don't know. We are a small state. In the beginning, I thought we are a state. We would be one of those states which would excel in education, would excel in everything, because we had a population. We have practically universal literacy. We had a population which is not below the poverty line. Most of us do have something. Everybody has something. That is a coconut tree and a paddy field and a house to sustain ourselves for the year. Whether it be a Gauda, the Gauda people or anybody else. Everybody had some land to plow, something of the sort. There was a small but self-sustaining economy. And we are just letting it go. CRZ, we passed judgments, not enforced. So these are matters of law. Of course, what can you do? There are people who are willing to fight, but there is a large majority of people who don't align with their thoughts. Question is, how do you make them align with their thought process? A power of the people is a power which can throw out anything. So therefore, I'll be open to questions. I don't know whether I exceeded my time, but I am trying to give you a bird's eye view of what the Constitution is, the primary document. There will be other speakers coming and telling you about other things. But this, two things you must remember. The basic rights, the basic structure of the Constitution cannot be amended. Every citizen has the right under Article 21. Not only to espouse your own cause, but to espouse the causes of those who cannot fight for themselves. There are freedoms for us in Article 19 and an embargo on the state that we shall not discriminate under Article 41 just based upon race, caste or gender, whatever it is. So I thank you all for sitting down. Listening, I don't know how much has gone. I hope something has gone in. I'm always hopeful. And thank you all.
Wow, what a list. Justice Rebello, you have covered the entire spectrum as relevant for citizens in a very, very simplistic way. I know you were a lecturer once at Allahabad Law College, but you are indeed a very good lecturer in addition to being a very good judge. I don't think there's anyone in this audience There are many here who would be very happy with your various suggestions on how to control noise pollution, throw them into jail, and so on, because a lot of the activists here have been fighting noise pollution, coastal violations, garbage issues. These are the main issues which a lot of them here are coming from. So I thank you very much. And I remember once when I was arguing a matter on the fishing ban, Justice Sri Krishna was on the bench. He had passed an order saying that no fishing should take place in the during that first period of the rains. And the next day he saw in the papers that there were some boats out there. So he sent the court master to call me and he said, see, this is not good. Yesterday I have passed an order banning, how are those boats out there? File a contempt petition by 2:30 in the afternoon. So I hand wrote some contempt petition that this was there. It came up before him. He passed an order saying, bring all those fellows and all their boats into the court. Bring it in the courtroom. I will see what has to be done. From that day onwards, not a single boat on the seas. So that's the...
I initiated the petition.
You initiated.
For banning, and I appointed a ministry.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You appointed me a mic in that matter, then later I took it forward. Anyway, let us not discuss you and I in the courts, but I have a pile of questions here. Try as briefly as you would like to. So the Constitution of India guarantees rights to its citizens. But what about foreigners who have OCI? What guarantees do they have, especially in case where foreigners want to participate in protection of nature, etc., etc.? Question 1. Should I do 2, 3? I don't know their comments, so I just got some. But please answer.
As I said, under Article 21, even a non-citizen has a right, but that is limited in the area of his arrest. You are illegally detained, if an illegal order passed against you, then Article 21 preserves the right as a person. Now, frankly, whether a foreign organization can move the Supreme Court under 32 because under 21, I don't know whether such an issue has come. But OCI is simply basically what you do is you have lost your right in this prison. Okay. You have been given that OCI, Government of India has taken a policy decision on that matter. So, but still, in the matter, it's a limited right. So, what you can, in the lighter vein, what you can do is help at least financing those organizations who are fighting, and they will do the job for you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Okay, there's an important question here. Can any government change the constitution to make India a religion-based country despite its basic structure? And another question which goes there, what is the scope through Constitution of India for protecting the interests of land, environment and the locals of Goa?
No,
That's it. Okay.
Now, the first question, as I pointed out to you all, the basic structure. Now, in Bomaya judgment, Bomaya was a former chief minister, not his son, the man in the Janata Government Party. In that judgment, the Supreme Court has held that secularism is a part of the basic structure. So provisions pertaining to secularism are basic structure and they cannot be amended. But again, unfortunately, what is secular? We understand secular means religion, but there are others who think that somebody calls it pseudo-secularism. But perhaps this is a word which was coined by Alvares. But as of today, secularism is a basic structure of the Constitution, and the Constitution cannot be amended. As far as this aspect is concerned, unless somebody reads the entire framework of basic structure and says something otherwise. So this is a position, at least as of today. What is the other question?
The other question was, can the government change the constitution I read? And sorry, what is the scope through Constitution of India for protecting the interests of land, environment, and the locals of Goa? I think land and environment of Goa.
You see, the environment is a subject in the union list. In other words, it is Parliament alone that makes laws. And Parliament does not make a law only for Goa. Laws are made, of course there may be some specific laws, but environmental laws are across the nation. I just give a small history. How did the Environment Act come? Which gamut of all law protects the environment. Mrs. Gandhi, with all her faults, went to Stockholm for the conference, and she came back and wrote to the Chief Minister to protect the coastal belt. After that came the Environmental Law, Environment Act. We have then the Coastal, we have the Forest Conservation Act. We have the, I think, water and air. So there is a gamut of legislation already passed by Parliament protecting the environment. CRZ laws have been passed under the Environment Act. So it is not that Parliament is insensitive to the needs of society. Irrespective, whoever comes or goes, there are responsible people, there are reasonable people, and laws have been made. Yes, we would like more to come. Activists would like to see something further done. But then, as we call it, sustainable development. We can't have more development. Okay? If there is to be development, somebody says, we want jobs in our place. How do you provide jobs unless you have infrastructure? Now, for infrastructure, Mama will disagree with me. If we have infrastructure, we have to have power, we have to have roads, we have to have ports. So these are but somewhere along that, everywhere, there has to be a balance.